Welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Gonna dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small,
Why, hello there, my fabulous listener. Welcome to episode 189 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you this week, as always, for lending me your ears today. I know you have lots of choices out there, and I really do appreciate you making my podcast one of them. If you are enjoying this podcast, then I'd love you to take a screenshot and share it on your socials and tag me, because that would be super cool to get to know you a little bit like you get to know me a little bit every week here on the podcast. Don't forget, you can find all the show notes for today's episode at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/189. This podcast episode is actually sponsored by the Australian Rural Business Awards. These awards are just open for a few more days until Friday the 6th of May, actually. So get nominating your favourite rural or regional small business. You know how much they would love to be nominated, and they'll do a happy little dance to think that someone thinks they're amazing enough to nominate them for the Australian Rural Business Awards. It's free for them to enter, so please don't stress about that. You're not nominating them for something that's going to cost them a fortune. It's free for them to enter. So go and nominate now. Just go to bit.ly, so bit.ly/ruralbiznomination. Again, come to socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/189 to find that link in the show notes. Today, I have a guest on, and I'm a little bit excited. I know I probably say this about every guest, but I love that I can find experts out there in the world who know things that I don't know, even though they're still about marketing and making your business life simpler. So my amazing guest today is Joyce Watts. Now, Joyce has the #1 lifestyle blog in Australia and has had for a very long time, and is a master of affiliate marketing and monetizing a blog, which is exactly what we're going to talk about today: affiliate marketing and how to monetize your blog. Even if you don't have a blog, there is so much wisdom in here for you. Admittedly, affiliate marketing is something that we have not covered on the podcast, but is actually on my goal list and has been on my goal list for about 12 months or so, and I literally haven't done anything about it. So I'm really excited to talk about something in marketing we haven't really spoken about today, B, talk about affiliate marketing, and C, so I can learn a little bit more about it so I can get it ticked off my goal list. So it was really an interesting chat with Joyce and hearing her story, and obviously all her amazing wisdom and her amazing advice around this subject. To go and check out Joyce's blog or to get in touch with her, just come to the show notes. I've got all the links in there. But otherwise, we're going to get into it. I'm a little bit excited. I love this episode. It may be a little bit longer than some of the other episodes that I've done, but look, there is just so much to say about this. It's interesting and it's a great little marketing tactic. So without further ado, here's Joyce. Joyce, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolute pleasure. This is take 2. We had a few tech issues on the first take, so it's good to be chatting to you again. For my audience who perhaps don't know Joyce Watts, could you give us a little bit of a rundown on who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I help families have more fun together. And the way I do that is that for the last 10 years, I've published Melbourne and Victoria's biggest family travel blog called Hot or Not. It didn't start out as a business. It started out as a side sort of diary, personal diary of my journey of having my first child at the time, who's now 10 years old. Oh, wow. And slowly over time, it has become more and more of a business. I'm a corporate lawyer. And after having my first child, I decided that I wasn't really keen on going back to the corporate world. And so I was looking for an opportunity to step away and do something for myself. And that turned into an e-commerce business, which is still chugging along, but not really my main business now. And then this sort of side hustle, blogging caper that I started. And then after having my second child, who's now 8, a couple of years into it, I thought I think I could turn this into a business. I really enjoy it. And I think I'm providing value to people who read my blog. And I guess I also started at a time where blogs were still a thing. This is literally before the age of Instagram. Like, Instagram hadn't been invented.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess being an early adopter of that kind of way of creating content has given me an advantage as well, because there's lots of people who started blogs who have not continued.
I find that in the podcast world. I think the average amount of episodes in a podcast is 7. So there is obviously a lot of people out there who start podcasts who realize that perhaps it's not for them, or the time commitment is too much, and then they stop doing them. So blogging, obviously you said that you started when blogging was probably at its height, or was really quite popular. When I survey my audience, there's about a 50-50 split, those who like blogs versus those who like podcasts. Are you finding that the numbers are still climbing, even though perhaps people might be listening thinking blogs are old-fashioned?
It really depends. Certainly, I now consume a lot of content myself through a podcast rather than a blog. But the kind of blog that I write doesn't really lend itself to a podcast, because I'm providing inspiration for families as to what they do with their children. And quite often that involves like a checklist. So for instance, school holidays, 30 things to do in summer with your kids. That's a really hard piece of content to convey over a podcast, unless you're listening to a podcast while taking notes. As far as I know, most people listen to podcasts when they're driving, or they're doing the dishes, or going, taking a dog for a walk. So my content doesn't really lend itself to a podcast. If I was writing about business, let's say, or like you do, social media, or productivity, or maybe book reviews, all of those things lend themselves to that kind of medium, but mine doesn't. So in that sense, blogs are old-fashioned, but effectively I'm building a website, and websites are not old-fashioned.
Yeah.
Reading content is not old-fashioned. It's still there and still available. And so, yeah, my audience has only grown over this period of time as I've gotten better at what I do.
And your audience will have changed over time, because children grow up. And therefore then you get a whole new audience that have those young children again that are looking for things to do, because like you said, you help families have more fun together. So there's obviously an age that comes along where families where kids would like to do other things than hang out with their family.
Yeah, absolutely. So I find very much that people find me when they have young children under 5, because that is the period where you're getting a bit desperate about what to do with your kids. And then people stick around for a period of time. And then by about end of primary school, so 12, they are no longer part of my audience. They're looking for other things because their children are looking for other things. And that's fine. But, realistically, people are still having children.
Yes.
That's not stopping. They're still looking. The problem and the pain point is still there, still looking for things to do. So it's not a finite resource, I guess. It's not a finite number of people who I can serve. And I'm just really clear that my audience are basically people with children under 12 years old, or at least the youngest child is a child who is under 12.
Yeah. Okay.
After that, they look elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I was really interested in having a bit of a chat to was about taking, I guess, a passion project like you have had. It started off as a bit of a passion for you, into a business and monetizing that. I think my audience would be really quite interested to know how you are monetizing a blog, but also where do you start with that sort of thing? So I guess my first question is, like, how are you actually monetizing your blog and making it a business?
Sure. So I think one of the main lessons for businesses earning revenue is that you have more than one source of revenue, more than one income stream. And it's very similar in the blogging world. So my blogs, I have numerous income streams. One of them is through programmatic advertising. So that's basically what you see like Google Ads, except I use an ad agency called Mediavine, who's based in the US. So if you've been browsing Amazon and then you come back to my site, you'll be served ads from Amazon, and that they are responsible for that. So that's one aspect, programmatic advertising. The second aspect is direct advertising. So I have formed really great relationships with a lot of tourist attractions, Melbourne institutions, tourism boards, and so forth. And they might choose to advertise directly with me. So that might still be through a traditional banner ad, or it may be through sponsored content, either on the blog or in my social channels, maybe a sponsored email to my database. So that's direct advertising. That's another source of income. The third main source of income for me is through affiliate advertising. Mm-hmm. So that means that I am affiliated with companies whose products and services I believe in and want to promote to my audience. So anytime that anyone comes through my site and they, for instance, then go into Hamper Emporium, who I'm an affiliate for, they go into Hamper Emporium and then buy a hamper for their mother-in-law for Christmas, I get a commission for that sale. And so because of the amount of traffic I get on my website, it's quite large. That means a lot of people come to my site. Then they might see the banner, or they're served a banner for any of my affiliates, and they might go, oh, actually, yeah, I need to buy a Christmas present for my mother-in-law. What am I going to get her? Click through, purchase, and there's a cookie that basically tracks the fact that they've come through me. I get a percentage commission depending on what the brand is. So that's another major source of income. The fourth source of income is I have my own products that I sell. This is something I'm just starting to experiment with because I am trying to move towards more passive forms of income where it's a little bit more set and forget. My blog, producing content all the time, is a treadmill that is never ending. Yes. And so I'm trying to get off that treadmill a little bit more and being more smart about the way I use my time. So one of those things is producing my own products. So just this month, for instance, I've launched a shop, and that shop at the moment only has affiliate products on there. But the idea is that eventually I'll have my own products on there. And that means that shop is open 24/7. It's an online shop and people can purchase items directly from me. So that is the fourth source of income. And then the fifth source of income is that my blog is a great platform for my content creation services. So, and my skills in SEO, in email marketing and social media. So I can consult to other organizations and businesses and provide those similar services to them. So it's like a very effective online portfolio of my work. So all those things together, that's 5 different sources of income, let alone, you know, things like speaking, or sometimes I have been paid to be in ads because I have a profile. Those sort of little bits and pieces all add up to one big monetized business. So, yeah.
That's incredible. I think some of my listeners might be, you know, thinking about their streams of income, and maybe they haven't gone past 1 finger or 2 fingers. So I think, you know, understanding your money scheme or streams of money is like a whole other episode of the podcast. So thank you so much for sharing that so openly as to how you monetize the blog. And it all seems very overwhelming. So obviously you have built these relationships up over time. You have learned what you are implementing over time. Where did you start? Let's take perhaps the affiliate building relationships side, because I think that's something that people could easily do. Like, you know, if I look at the programs that I use inside my business right now, like probably 60% of them offer affiliate deals should I decide to take them up. But how do you sort of start to, is it a matter of just looking at what you do and what you buy now to build those relationships?
Yeah, that's a really good first start with affiliate marketing. I only started affiliate marketing probably 5 or 6 years into my business. Mm-hmm. And really, if I'd known better, I should have started from day one. Because, for instance, I can join Amazon Associates, which is their affiliate program, with no traffic. So there is a lot of affiliate programs might require a certain level of traffic or a certain level of sales for you to stay in the program. Amazon doesn't. You can sign up with 0 traffic. And so if I think of the 5 years of traffic, you know, even a little tiny trickle of traffic, and that that I could have been sending to Amazon and earning commission from, and that is just, well, that's been and gone now. But so I think starting out monetizing a website, affiliate marketing is a really great way to start. You don't have to create your own product. You're basically promoting somebody else's product. Obviously, there are things you need to consider with affiliate marketing, like you're not promoting every single product out there in the world. You're ideally promoting products that you personally use or you have experience with that you recommend, because in the end, it's your reputation on the line. But yeah, Amazon is an easy first step for anyone with a website. And then, yes, you can start looking at perhaps the products you purchase regularly for your own business or for personal use even. And then I basically Google and go, does this product have an affiliate program? And quite often they do. I was very surprised when I first started with affiliate marketing. And so, again, you can just sign up to those. Eventually, as your website traffic starts growing, you can start signing up to affiliate networks. So affiliate networks, instead of signing up to each individual company's affiliate program, affiliate networks have them all in one place. So some big ones might be Commission Factory or Commission Junction or Impact. They have hundreds and thousands of brands with affiliate programs under their network. So if you sign up to their network, then you can start actually forming relationships with their affiliate managers. And if you can demonstrate that you're transaction active, that you are actually pushing sales to their brands and so forth, then there's room to start negotiating. Because again, this is a lesson that I learned relatively late in affiliate marketing, which I wish I'd learned, much earlier. But when they say that your affiliate commission is 5%, that's not a fixed rate. That is absolutely negotiable. But obviously, you need to come to the negotiating table with something to provide. So, for instance, I can say, well, for the last 30 days, I've sent you, 30 people who have purchased from you that you otherwise wouldn't have, or, I've generated $10,000 of sales for you. And that's a legitimate reason for them to go, well, okay, yeah, you're a good person to partner with. What can we give in return? Maybe we can increase your percentage from 5% to 10%. And obviously that benefits you because then you get a bigger cut of the pie. So these are sort of steps that happen a little bit further down the track, but it just means that now affiliate marketing, as I said, is one of my 3 main sources of income. And it's relatively passive. I have banner ads. I produce content occasionally, but it is just the number of people coming through my website, seeing those ads, and then shopping through them, just means that I go to sleep and I wake up and there's money in my bank account. So that's quite a good way to earn a living, really. So,
absolutely. So when you were saying before that you can sort of say, I've sent you this amount of traffic or you've had this amount of purchases, obviously there is a dashboard somewhere where you are connected that you can actually get those stats from. That's not necessarily on your website? It might be like, part of the affiliate dashboard. Is that right?
There's 2 things. We actually track not only what's happening on our side, so on my website, but also from the affiliate dashboard, because sometimes we just like to verify what's going on. And sometimes what the affiliate dashboard says, the number of clicks we sent don't match up to our traffic tracking. And so that's when we can have a discussion about, we think that we've sent you 100 people, but you say we've only sent you 10 people. Like, can we work out what the discrepancy is here? So that's only for our own due diligence. Otherwise, if you don't want to track on your own website, that's absolutely fine. You just have to trust that the affiliate network's tracking is accurate. So, yeah, again, that is kind of the next level of sophistication. If you are just starting out with affiliate marketing, you don't need to get into those complexities. But as I said, because it is one of my main sources of income, I want to make sure that every commission that I've earned, that I get paid for. And so we're really monitoring our links and our tracking, as well as the affiliate networks.
Yeah, okay. That's such great advice. I love that. Thank you for sharing that knowledge. The other one that you mentioned was building relationships with other businesses. And I'm gathering you are sort of using these. I guess it's still type of affiliate, but it's more localized, perhaps, like, the gift baskets and things like that. So how do you go about starting to develop those relationships with another small business or another business, where you say, if I mention you, in my blogs or something like that, how do you build those relationships to start with?
I think, well, first of all, I cold call sometimes. Effectively, it's a sales role, right? And in sales, at some stage, you probably need to have a cold call. So when I'm in cold calling, I'm not necessarily picking up the phone. But what I might do, for instance, I'll produce a blog post, which is the 10 best Christmas hampers you can get delivered in Melbourne. So then I sift through the internet, and I go, well, these are some Melbourne businesses that are producing some really great hampers. I don't have a relationship with them at the moment. But again, because my website is big enough, they'll start seeing traffic come through. Like, who is this person that's sending me traffic? So sometimes relationships have occurred that way, because they are obviously tracking who's coming in or how people are reaching them, and realize that I've listed them in this blog post, for instance. And then what we're starting to do is that we will mention small businesses without them reaching out to us, or sometimes if they do reach out to us, we'll mention them for 12 months. After 12 months, we'll have the stats to show, well, there's been, 2,000 clicks to your website in those 12 months. We're going to refresh this blog post, because let's say with hampers, there are hundreds of hamper companies. You're just lucky that you got in, I guess, to that blog post in the first year, but we want to share the love a bit. So if you want to stay, then we have a listing fee now. If you don't want to stay, that's fine. We'll give you a spot to another small business who could do with the 12 months of promotion again. So that's one way that we have formed relationships, as well as being able to monetize relationships in future. There's no compulsion for people to pay. If they don't want to pay, we just give their spot to somebody else who is also not paying, but also just, spreading the SEO juice out a bit, because my site is it's so big that there's the backlinks that juice, I guess, I provide to those other small businesses is actually really valuable, as well as the actual referrals to their site for sales. So, yeah, I guess I'm in a slightly unique position in that way, in that I'm the bigger player in those kind of relationships.
Yeah. So I was sort of thinking, or imagined, that maybe you would write a blog post and you would reach out to them to ask if they would like to be featured. So this is the one I've done. Would you like to be featured? So what you're doing is providing that value up front, and then going back to them with some stats, which is just an amazing, that's such a great way of thinking about it, especially if they've done any tracking on their end, I guess, which is the hard thing with small business owners, I guess, to have them recognize that. Yeah,
absolutely. Sorry, I don't have any more to say on that one. You'll have to edit this bit out.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So, and of course, the third one that I really wanted to dig into, which I think my audience may be super interested in, is the Google Ads type of thing, like the banners, like the right-hand banners, and the banners that might exist in between a blog or on, the homepage itself. Where did you get started with that? How do you how do you look at doing something like that?
So again, you can sign up to have Google serve ads. So Google ads into your website from day dot. There's no traffic requirement. There's no minimum traffic required to do that. What you'll start out doing is earning like a couple of cents here and there because your traffic is low and because their value is low.
Yeah.
Once you are able to build up your organic traffic to a particular point, then you can start applying to ad networks. So as I said, the ad network I use is called Mediavine, and their minimum traffic requirement is 50,000 page views a month.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not an easy ask for a beginner, but eventually, if you implement the right SEO tactics, eventually you'll get there. And once you get there, that means that you're no longer earning cents. First of all, your traffic is obviously bigger, but also because they're an ad network, they're effectively like a eBay of ads. So they'll serve ads into your website that have the highest bidder. So it just means that the programmatic ads inside your website are now much more valuable. Plus the fact you're getting a lot more people through your site. So there's a lot more impressions of those ads as well. So those two things together mean that, especially if you're American, actually, because the American market is huge, there are American bloggers earning easily 5 figures a month just through programmatic ads because they have high traffic, but also because their RPM, which is rate per mil, is so high because they're American. I will probably never reach those heights because I have an Australian blog with a mainly Australian audience, and RPMs just don't hit 3 figures at all. Yeah. But yeah, so that's the difference. That's some people literally only rely on ad revenue for their income because of the way that they've built their organic traffic and because of where their traffic is coming from.
Okay, so do you get to choose which ads that show up on your website to make sure they're aligned with who you are and what you want your traffic to see?
There's a certain conditions you can put in there. So for instance, I've put in conditions because mine is a family travel blog. I don't want gambling ads or adult content ads on there. So there's those kind of restrictions. But otherwise, it's fairly broad because the ads that you see on my website are going to be different to the ads that I see on my website because of where I've been. So as I said, if I've just shopped at Hamper Emporium, I can guarantee that when I go back into my own website, that they will be serving Hamper Emporium ads. That's why people think, oh my gosh, I'm being stalked on the internet, and it's through your own activity. You're right, you are. But they're serving ads that they think are, most relevant to that specific person's activity at that specific point in time.
Yeah, I must admit, I often get served Spend With Us ads because that's my marketplace that I have, and I'll be somewhere and I'll have a bit of a giggle. I'm like, I'm not clicking on that. That's my own website. No, go away.
Exactly. Exactly.
How come it doesn't know that? It knows so much about me, but doesn't know that.
Yeah, that I can't answer. I'm not. But yes, the ads that you see and the ads that I see will be entirely different. So there is a level of control, but not, I wouldn't say to the detail of, there's a level of detail that I can't get into unless I really spend a lot of time talking to Mediavine. And that's not how they work because they're effectively, like I said, a marketplace for ads as well. So they're not, and we're talking millions of ads being served around the world and thousands of bidders on those ads. It's virtually impossible unless you're all there all the time monitoring your own ads.
Yes, it's really like a whole different world when you start thinking about those ads that exist on so many websites, never alone, into social media and that sort of thing. It's really quite boggling, I should say. Something like Mediavine, like I'd never heard of that. I know you mentioned it a couple of times, but to create a business that is basically a marketplace for ads is really quite a strange thing to think about.
Yeah, I mean, and there are literally people whose business is, like you say, to create websites so that they can get served ads. So it's not because they have a particular interest in fly fishing or credit cards or whatever niche it is. It's about building a niche building a niche website to such a degree that you can get some really great organic traffic to it, and through that you can serve ads.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask a question that I really have no idea whether the answer is laughably silly or a good question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So when you see an ad that comes up on a website and say it's in the top banner, is that banner put there by a web designer to be filled, or is that ad in addition to whatever you would have in the back end of your website?
It's in addition to.
Okay.
So, for instance, in my Mediavine settings, I have not said that they are allowed to serve ads in my top banner because I want to keep that clean. So it's a setting. I can switch it on and off as I wish. And as to how the coding works to do that, I don't know. But yeah, it is basically a setting.
Yes. Okay. So you could say whether you want it in the right-hand column or up the top or down the bottom and things like that. Right.
That's
okay.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
It doesn't sound like a silly question after all. I shouldn't have set it up that way.
No.
Joyce, this has been such a great conversation, and one I haven't really had for my audience, talking about this form of marketing, these income streams that are, they're not passive, but they're slightly passive, I guess, because you've still got to create the content and get the traffic. So it's not purely passive income, but it's more passive, I guess, than a lot of other incomes that are out there. Is there anything that we haven't covered that perhaps you would like my audience of small business owners who probably all have websites to know about, sort of monetizing a page or monetizing a passion/blog?
I would say that another thing that I didn't learn until 4 or 5 years down the track is to start gathering email addresses, building your database from day one when you have no traffic. Because again, I did not start an email database until 4 or 5 years into my business. And that's a mistake, because we all know now that having an email database is possibly the most valuable piece of IP that you can have, probably even more valuable than my website, although that's a very close second. That database, for me, are the most loyal readers. They're the ones who will respond to me via email. When I meet people in real life, they'll say, "Oh, I get your email every week. It's one of the few that I read, or I really enjoy it, or, I really like the content in it." So it's a really great way for me to connect personally with a lot of people. Like, there is no way that currently my database is 15,000 people. There's no way that I could actually ever meet 15,000 people in person, but those 15,000 people somehow feel a personal connection to me because I write to them every single week.
Yes.
From a monetizing point of view, that means that I can promote the fact that I have a large database of a very niche audience to advertisers. So, for example, a big institution in Melbourne who wants to attract families to their school holiday program, like, I'm the perfect person for that. So instead of blasting out a billboard or a TV ad or even social media to an extent, they know that there are 15,000 people on my database who are generally interested in content around things to do with kids in Melbourne, and therefore they're going to get a good return on investment there. So for me, that's a way that I can monetize that database, as well as having a great community of people who are all aligned with the same thing, who I guess want to hear what I have to share. And that's really valuable. That would be my one piece of advice. If you have a website, the return on investment on spending time and money on building your database is, I believe, statistically 144% better than social media. So that's kind of the proportion that I try and prioritize my time I spend 144% more time on my email database than I do on Instagram.
I love that. That is definitely singing my song. I guess, do you have just on that, because that's such a great point to bring up? Do you have, how do you get people to go from being a blog reader to an email subscriber? What's your best tip on doing that?
Cool. Well, I guess you have to provide value. People are holding on to no one wants to sign up to get more emails.
No.
What they want is for you to provide them with value or to solve their problems in some way. So the selling point for me is that you can save time, you can save stress. I will send you a curated list of ideas and inspiration for things to do with kids in Melbourne or, regional Victoria and so forth. So I'm saving people time. I'm saving people stress. I say it's curated. So, you're not henpecking your way all through Google to try and find something to do on the school holidays. I've collated that for you in an easy to read format. And it comes into your inbox. So I have a lead magnet at the moment, which is 52 best playgrounds in Melbourne. So that's something that you can print off, stick on your fridge, and use its checklist. It's like, well, what are we going to do? Well, there's 52 playgrounds here, which I consider to be the best in Melbourne. Let's hit one of those. So yes, it's about being able to communicate the fact that you're providing value in the emails that you send, and then obviously providing them with some initial value to get them over the hump by saying, well, here's your first freebie, bonus, whatever you want to call it, effectively a lead magnet. So in exchange for your email address, I'll give you something that's really useful for you. So that's how I would say I try and get people who are blog readers to be email subscribers.
Yeah, I think that's a really brilliant way. Who doesn't want to have a checklist of things to do when there's nothing to do, or when the kids come and say, I'm bored? Thank you so much, Joyce, for sharing all your knowledge and everything today on the podcast. I'm sure my audience are you're just going to make their cogs turn that little bit quicker, thinking about what other income streams they could possibly use. If anyone wants to get in contact or read your blog or, talk to you about this a little bit further, how can they best get in contact with you?
Sure. Well, the best thing is to hit up my website. It's hot or not. So it's a bit of a mouthful, but it's TOTHOTORNOT.com. From there, you'll be able to sign up to that weekly newsletter that I talked about. You can also find all my social media links there as well. But hotornot.com is the home of everything there. And from there, you can go whichever way you choose.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. I will have that, of course, that link in the show notes, of course. But thank you again for being on the podcast and providing us so much value around this type of marketing and income streams.
Thanks so much, Jen. See you.
Pleasure. How interesting and fabulous was that interview? Did it set your mind on fire? Like I said, affiliate marketing is something that I need to concentrate on or, just look into, both for social media and marketing Australia business, but also my online marketplace, spendwithus.com.au. So for me, I asked some very interesting questions, which I was probably interested in. So I hope that you got some amazingness out of listening as well. Again, Joyce's links are in my show notes at socialmediamarketing.com.au/189. But let's continue the chat in my Like-Minded Business Owners Facebook group. If you're not a member of that already, then come on over. I have some amazing guests inside that Facebook group all year. Really love that so many men and women who have such great expertise that I don't have are willing to come into my Facebook group, do a Q&A, do a presentation and share their expertise and their wisdom with you. So if you're not a member of Like-Minded Business Owners, head over there and become a member. Otherwise, that's it for another episode of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Don't forget to go and nominate your favourite rural small business or your regional favourite regional small business for the Australian Rural Business Awards. Make them do a happy dance. Get them delighted that you love them enough to nominate them. But yeah, that'd be super. Otherwise, I'll see you next week on episode 190. I can't believe that. Holy crap, 190. What do you think I should do for episode 200? I think it's time that we start thinking about that. Open for suggestions. Let me know. In the meantime, if we're not already friends on social, then let's get social on social. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and of course, LinkedIn. But whatever you do, remember, my small business peeps, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
No time like the present. Tell it like you feel it, say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Yorta Yorta people, on which I record this podcast and conduct my business today, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I extend this respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today as well.